Hello everyone and welcome to the introduction video of our 6-step process. We developed this process together with leading international accelerators, with entrepreneurs across Europe and by supporting more than 2,000 teams. Well, basically this process helps corporate teams as well as startups to develop their business idea step by step into a product or a service which is investment ready. My name is Stefan Berger. I'm co-founder of WhatAVenture and managing director. So why did we even bother about developing this process? We realized that when we develop business ideas, we kind of tend to make the same mistakes, which are that we don't address the relevant customer needs. We kind of spend too much time developing a solution which then at the end doesn't really create a benefit. We have a weak business model, and very often we don't really have a competitive advantage. So what that means is that it takes us very long time with our solutions to really enter the market, and very often it also means that our ideas fail very quickly. So now let me walk you through our 6-step process and give you an explanation of how we guide teams from an idea to investment readiness. Alright, so let's start with the first step, and this is customer exploration. And this is really about looking into your customers, understanding who your customers are, what is the job they actually want to get done, and what are connected pains and needs. Let's look at it with an example. So let's take Joanna. You should have a very clear picture of a persona. She might be 25 years, her job to get done is going from A to B, from her home to work, and connected needs and pains are that she is coming punctual, that it doesn't, it comes with a certain cost, it comes with a certain comfort, etc., etc. So once you actually elaborated your customer segment, job to get done, pains and needs, the next step is to validate. Does this customer group really exist? Do they really want to get this job done? And do they really have those needs and pains connected with it? So what we found out is that actually the best way to validating your customer segment pains and needs is actually talking to them. So instead of sending out many questionnaires, we think that the most powerful tool is actually getting out of the building, talking to customers, chatting with them, and 10, 15, 20 customer interviews might be really enough to get valid insights. Alright, so once you validated who your customers are and that they exist and they have these needs, it's really all about thinking, what is the solution? What are the features I need to come up actually to addressing those needs, addressing those pains, and creating benefits? So let's take the washing machine for example. Very often when we think about features and when we think about our solution, we try to, overthink it. We try to come up with many features where we think they're really valuable, but in reality the customers don't care. Let's look at the washing machine. We analyzed the washing machine of our colleague and it has around 72 washing programs. But how many washing programs do you actually use? You might use 3, you might use 4. If you're really hardcore, you might use 5. But do you really use 72 different washing programs? Maybe not, okay? So the challenge is, how do I understand if the solution I have in mind really creates a benefit? How do I understand if it really creates the core value I propose to my customers? And actually here it is all about prototyping. And that is the second validation step here. It's problem solution fit. So this is actually about understanding how can I develop a very simple prototype, something very quickly to understand whether I can really generate the value I propose to my customers. And sometimes actually it just takes a couple of days to really come up with first insights, okay? So the idea here is develop a series of prototypes until you, what we say, reach problem solution fit. Okay, so what is the next step? Now let's assume you develop your prototypes, you validated that you're able to come up with a core value proposition. It's really about getting a more holistic view on your business idea. And here we actually built on something which has been validated quite extensively out in the market, and this is the business model canvas. And here we don't only look at the customer segment and the value proposition, but we also consider the distribution channels and how do we reach our customers, on the relationship, how do we keep a relationship with them, what kind of key partners do we actually need to come up with our solutions, what is the key activities we should focus on, what are the key resources we need, what are the major cost drivers, and what are the different ways to actually achieve revenue. Okay, so once we develop our business model, the next step is when we compare ourselves with our competitors. So we do a competitor analysis. Are we really unique? Are we just a copy of what is out there, but just worse? So this is really about comparing ourselves to our competitors and really trying to understand what is the uniqueness? Where do we really stand out? But not in terms of features, but in terms of customer benefit. So we do this by following a blue ocean strategy, where you have the different customer benefits and you compare yourself along with your competitors. And a competitive advantage might just be that you bring Joanna into town just cheaper, 20% cheaper, or just faster or more reliable, right? And what is important, you don't need to be good at excellent at everything, but you should really understand what is the customer benefit. You really have a unique advantage over your competitors, okay? So let's say now you have a clear view on your competitors and you found your competitive advantage. The next step is to focus on the market and focus on the market size. So actually what we all want to be in a very big market, okay? But reality is that sometimes we might not be in the biggest markets, sometimes we might be in a small market, okay? And in addition to that, I think what is important is to ask yourself the questions of all those potential customers I'm talking to, how many customers are actually converting to my solution? Are there many? For example, talking to 100 customers, 30 are converting. Or are there just a few customers of whom I'm talking to converting to my solution? And the step market size is really about understanding the size of the opportunity. How big is the opportunity of the target market I have in mind? Is the opportunity big enough? And sometimes by coming up with quick mathematics, you realize, well, the customer segment I'm focusing on is just too small. There's just too few customers around with a conversion rate having in mind to actually run a sustainable business. Okay, so let's assume everything is good. It's a big market. It's a big opportunity. The next step is then really getting into numbers and focusing on your financials. So when it comes to financials, it's a lot playing around with numbers, to be honest, okay? So it's many assumptions you're actually coming up with. But what is important is to understand what is my assumption, when do I actually reach break even, right? When are cost and revenue the same? When do I really start to be profitable? How much money am I burning? So how much investment do I need? How many resources do I actually need, right? And actually this is also about coming up with different scenarios, worst case scenarios, good scenarios. It's also about understanding your profitability. So this is all about numbers. And once you have a clear idea of your numbers and you also identified the major cost drivers, etc., well, then we come to the last step in the WhatAVenture process. And this is the product market fit. So we know that when we talk about, startups or we talk about the new innovative solutions, at the very end of the day, it's all about conquering the world. It's all about being scalable. It's all about being multipliable. So that means that you need to understand how scalable am I and how scalable are the different elements of my business? How scalable are the distribution channels? How scalable are my sales processes? So this really is about understanding what are your core metrics? What are your core numbers? And how can you actually increase efficiency, right? So this is all about product market fit. All right. So this is basically the 6 WhatAVenture steps with 3 validation steps: problem validation, problem solution fit, which is about prototyping, and product market fit. And how can you access all of these? Well, actually there are 2 ways. So one way is our hard copy way with posters and our innovation book, and that's the innovation box. And so basically it comes along with the full process. We use this box in workshops. We use this box in hackathons, in bootcamps. So this is one way. And another way is our web solution. So actually the 6-step process are also accessible through our web solution, which is comes handy when you work as teams, you work collaboratively, or as an acceleration manager when you have multiple teams you want to guide through the process. All right. So thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much for listening. You find many more videos which go into more details on WhatAVenture.com. We're happy to help you with your business idea to reach investment readiness. And whenever you have questions, feel free to reach out to us, contact us. We're happy to hear from you. All the best from the WhatAVenture team on your journey.